Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 377 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff, hopefully making some of the code in Firefox just a little easier to understand, and maybe fixing a small bug that someone identified earlier today. And then who knows how far we'll get. Let's get started, and I'll explain. I'll explain what's going on. So let me start by sharing my screen. Once I find where I put OBS, there it is. Here's my screen, and this is the agenda. Yes, it is September 18th, 2024, episode 377. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what I want to do today. I have kind of like a two-element to-do list for things that I want to try and drive forward today, but we don't know how it's going to go. I might go completely sideways. We might find that we're completely blocked, or we might get distracted by something. That's okay. I'm going to try and capture, like, the whole point of this series is to try and capture what I do during, my time working if I'm concentrating on some code. And things don't always go according to plan, and that's okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the agenda, that's the thing that we're looking at right now, is something that you have access to. So if you want to click on links or follow along, you're more than welcome to do that. The links for the agenda are going to be a little bit different depending on where you're watching the stream. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it's in the details section over on that side. If you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, it's down below. On Twitch, it's in the channel details section, and on YouTube, it's in the video description. Okay, so what are we doing today? Well, the first thing I wanted to do was take a look at this bug not this bug. We might get to this if we get stuck with the documentation bug. It's this bug. Create docs for customizable UI. So there is this mechanism that's been in Firefox since about 2014. It was one of the first things I worked on, actually, whenever I moved over from the Thunderbird team to the Firefox team. There was this project called Australis, and we basically changed how toolbar customization and UI customization worked in the browser. And, we the whole goal of it was to make customization of your toolbars the sort of thing that average users would feel comfortable doing. Like, it had been stuck in this realm as something that only power users would or could do, and they're very passionate about it, but there were like a lot of rough edges and foot guns, and it didn't feel like a polished experience. And so we applied some attention to that, and we had to basically build a new mechanism to make it easier to sort of centralize the customization logic across browser windows, because it was all fairly willy-nilly fragile prior to the customizable UI module. That's not to say it's not fragile these days. It's certainly more resilient than it used to be. It's certainly an improvement in terms of the stability of like toolbar customizations and the adaptability. But one of the things that has happened is that customizable UI has become this sprawling module that is fairly difficult to understand. And one of my colleagues, Sam, was dealing with a bug, or he's working on a feature with a couple of my other colleagues to support vertical tabs. And one of the things that we have to do is accommodate the users who may have customized things into their tab strip. And so our current solution for now is to move any buttons that have been put into the tab strip into the toolbar, into the nav bar instead. And then, like, if they disable the vertical tabs, then we'll put them back. We'll try and put them back. But it's not perfect, and we're probably gonna be hitting some rough edges here and there. But we're hoping that we can satisfy the needs of most of the users who are going to be using vertical tabs. And one of the things that we noticed is that, Sam was working on this and I was reviewing some of the patches, is that, like, holy smokes, this thing needs documentation. Customizable UI, not a thing that's well documented. Now, that's not to say there's no documentation. There are functions, like there's plenty of inline documentation, as you can see. And some of the public methods are actually well documented. Let's look at the let's look at some public methods here. These are all private. Here are the public methods, and they are well documented. However, they're not really available inside of our source docs. We don't have them published as part of Firefox source docs, which is where we put all of our source documentation. So for, if you recall, I was working with some people on like the backup mechanism, and so you can, or picture-in-picture is maybe a better example. There's a nice diagram in that one. If we look at the source code or the documentation for picture-in-picture, we've got like a nice diagram and a breakdown of how it works, and then it kind of goes deep into individual components and how they work, and then there's links to things like there are examples on how parts of it are used, and then there's like reference guides for the source code, and like a lot of this stuff is pulled out of the source code. And I think that's where I want to start, is I want to see if we can make it possible to expose the documentation for some of these things that's available on the public the public publicly available methods. Let me just find where the publicly available methods are, because like that's overflowable toolbar documented. Where's customizable UI.internal? Internal dot excuse me. Yeah, here we go. No, that's still overflowable toolbar. Where's toolbar? UI internal. Go back to the top. All right, so here we are at the top. What is there? Yeah, this is this is what's exported from the module, and this wraps a lot of methods, and this is the one that has like a bunch of things documented. This is what I want to try and put into our source docs today, but that may involve us having to clean up a bunch of JS doc that isn't like well formatted. So we might have to do, today might be a bunch of manual cleanup of some documentation in here, but that's okay. This is gonna hopefully help people in the future. That's why we're doing it. No IO before bedtime. I love that nickname. Writes, does .mjs mean you're using a subset of normal JS? No, MJS is what we consider like we use that extension for an ECMAScript 6 module or ES6 module. If you're not sure what JavaScript modules are, there have been module solutions for JavaScript for many, many years. There was like the CommonJS stuff. There's one called, the one that started with an A. There's like RequireJS. There were like all these different ways of, AMD, that's what it was. AMD modules, CommonJS, RequireJS. And they all had like their different solutions and mechanisms for modules. And finally a module standard was developed for JavaScript for the ECMAScript standards. And we differentiate just normal script that executes in, say, like a window context with a module by using the .mjs extension. And that seems to be something that we just kind of converged on. The module standards, like I don't believe you have to use .mjs for modules, but for us, that's how we know that they're modules. And the .sys part allows us to sort of indicate at a glance that these are privileged modules. So hopefully that helps. That helps. No IO before bedtime. Okay, so let's see what happens. Well, first of all, let's see what JS doc rules are in here, because I know that we have a couple of rules. There's like required JS doc. There's a rule called required JS doc, and there's one that's called valid JS doc. And I think valid JSDoc is maybe where we'll start, because we're not going to force every method in here to have JSDoc to start with, but let's at least get it all to be valid JSDoc. And if you're not familiar with JSDoc, and maybe you've used like JavaDoc before, here's some documentation about JSDoc. Also, great. Thank you for the question, No IO Before Bedtime. I'm glad you asked that. Feel free to ask more questions as I go along. Okay, so how do we opt into... I'm pretty sure we're not opting into using valid JSDoc in our directory here. And I suspect that's the sort of thing that you either have to opt into, or our directory was identified as not having valid JSDoc and no one had put in the effort yet. And so they probably like opted out. It's one of those two things. So we have to figure out which one we're in. JSDoc support. This is interesting. If you're looking to enable JSDoc generation for your documents, please also enable the ESLint plugin for JSDoc if it's not already enabled. In the top level search box, there are currently 2 sections where the valid JSDoc and required JSDoc rules are enabled. Oh, that's great. So good job documentation again. ESLint rc .js valid JSDoc. In the top level .eslint rc. Currently 2 sections. I wonder if this is out of date documentation. This is only from April. Let's look at when this landed. Show change set. If like at the time it was actually the case that there was a valid JSDoc section, because maybe this documentation also needs to be updated. That's the problem. So like documentation, it's a good thing, but there's like a hierarchy of needs for documentation. You need documentation, you need accurate documentation, and you need like accurate and up-to-date documentation. I guess that's it. It's just 2 levels. It's better to have some documentation, I would say, than no documentation, because at least you get some clues that were maybe true at one point in time. But up-to-date, accurate documentation, fully fleshed out documentation is like the top level. That's what you really, really want. Okay, so let's take a look at this one file and see if there was a JSDoc part. Yes, there was. There was something called extends valid JSDoc, and files were opting into it. And these ones were, yeah, customizable UI was not included. So I wonder if there's a place where we're still opting out. ESLint rollouts. What's this one for? Create instance for excluded files. What's this one? Valid JSDoc. Okay, so it appears to have moved into something called ESLint rollouts, which is, this is the current list of rollouts for ESLint rules. The meta for rollouts is this. New exclusions should not be added to the list unless they're part of a rollout for a new rule. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to update our documentation here. Valid JSDoc. So let's JSDoc support. In the top level, ESLint RC rollouts. That's what it should be. Rollouts. I guess we'll wrap around. Okay. So that's the first thing. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the customizable UI exclusion for valid JSDoc. And I expect there to be big explosions here. So let's remove that rule. And then we're going to run mock build faster. I actually don't know if I needed to build faster. But then we're going to run mock lint And I think I can choose a particular linter. I think I want, because I don't want to run them all. I'm just going to run the one linters to run. L ESLint, browser components, customizable UI. Here goes. I'm expecting big explosions. Let's see. Okay. Yes. Okay. So a big set of explosions. Not so bad. It's 176 problems. But what's that song? I got 99 problems. I don't think I want to quote that one. But I've got all these problems. But but a patch ain't one. Let's make some changes. Okay, well, we're gonna work our way through this. I believe will my VS Code understand the ESLint integration? I wonder if I need to because what would be nice is if I could see the ESLint integration. Terminal move. Debug. I think, do I need extensions ESLint? I think I've got this one. Is it on? Do I have to run it? So ESLint. Restart ESLint server. Sure. There we go. Now a bunch of stuff just turned red. That's good. Here we go. So here's our first error. We got a big blocks of errors in here and some errors down there, but let's start fixing these. So our first one, can I collapse? Let me just do that. Is there a way I can quickly hop to the first error? 9+. View problems. Perfect. Okay, so the first problem is widget type string prefer string. So if I do that, is it happy? Yes. And then prefer lowercase boolean. Nice. Now it's complaining that it should be returns, not return. And so this is now valid JS doc. Now, this dash I don't think needs to be there. I think what I'm going to do, I've done this elsewhere. True if the widget is removable. So on the next line. Okay, next problem. Param, the listener object to add. Okay, so and then this is a big description of the listener object. And I think what we want to do is a type def to describe what the listener object is. So I've done this before in other modules, type def, something like this. So I'm going to start with this. We're going to be copying and pasting the type definition for a widget listener. Is that what this thing is? Add a listener object. Customizable. I'll call it a customizable UI listener. And then there are a bunch of properties. And not all event handler methods need to be. So I can say that these are all optional. Events are dispatched interesting, so if you delay, that is vital. The following event handlers are supported. Okay. So type def, can I do property function? That's what we want. capital F function or lowercase f function? What did I do for migrator? Capital F function property. Okay. So, and then I think there's a way I can describe what the function accepts as arguments. I think I've seen this done by someone else. Backup property function property. Or maybe it was with a param function. Yeah, function that takes a string. Okay, that's how it's done. Function, and then in parentheses you supply the arguments that it expects. Okay. So property, this is a function, and that function takes a string, and a number. Now, if I could give those like names, that'd be really great. Function. So JSDoc function parameter names, named arguments. Function parameter. Best way to document anonymous objects and functions. Function. Description of the name of the function. And then it's a function, you param. Callback. Ooh, callback might be nice. Do we support that? Callback. And param. I see. This is actually exactly what we want, I think. So the property here would be, we could call this a onWidget added callback. We'll say customizable UI. onWidget added callback. onWidget added. Now, can I say then, because it's not going to know what that is, can I say that this is the callback? Syntax error. JSDoc callback as property. Add stuff callback. Param. Yeah, param add stuff callback. Is it not liking the? Yeah, it's not liking that. Okay. What's the? Remind me again what the tilde. The tilde is for a particular class, I think. Tilde name paths. inner member. I see. So this is not an inner member of customizable UI. So I think what I want is that, really. Okay. And we can take this and replace that. Fired. When a widget is added to an area, widget ID is the widget that was added. Okay. So the callback takes a widget ID, which is a string, an area, which is also a string, and then the position, which is a number. It's a position which was added. So the widget ID, the ID of the widget that was added to an area, the ID of the area that the widget was added to, the position of the widget in the area that was added to. And then we can get rid of that, and then that is done. And this is optional, so undefined. Is that how you do that? JSDoc optional parameters. Optional. You put it in square brackets. Okay, you don't need to say that. So that's valid. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say that this is a customizable UI listener. The listener object to add. So we're going to do each of these. This is, strap in everybody, this is going to be a bit of repetition. On widget added. The next one is on widget moved. And then, so I'm going to get rid of this. Fired when a widget is moved within an area. Within its area. It's just a widget ID and then the area that was moved. The ID was moved within. So we don't actually supply. Oh, sorry. Widget moved. Yeah. Sorry. Area that was moved within, then the old position, then the new position. I was wondering. I'm like, why a old position? A new position. And so fired when it's moved within its area. The widget that was moved, the area that was moved in its old position, its new position. Right, okay. The original position of the widget before being moved. The new position of the widget for being after being moved. And then we're going to add our new property on widget moved, and that's this thing. And we'll get rid of this. Next, on widget removed. So that's simpler. Fired when a widget is removed from an area. Removed callback was the ID of the area that the widget was removed from, and then we don't need the positions. And then the next one is like that. On widget removed. That's 3. And let's see. There's some spam in here. Spam. Okay, so that's done. Widget removed. Next, on widget before DOM changed. Property. Oh, thank you, Smurfd. Saving the day. On widget before DOM change. And what's this one? Fired when a widget, before a widget's DOM node is acted upon by customizable UI to add, move, or remove it. Okay, so let's put that in there. It's very interesting. I guess I'll just copy that whole thing and then put that in there. And then it's a node, a next node. So a node is going to be an element of some kind. It's an element. I think we got confused when between nodes and elements. It's not like a text node or anything, or a comment node. The DOM element being acted upon. The node is the node change. Next node is the DOM node of any before which a widget will be inserted. Wow, some of this is very specific. So element, this is optional. This may be null. The DOM element, if any, before which a widget will be inserted. Okay, and then a container is another element. The actual DOM container for the a widget could be an overflow panel in case of an overflow toolbar. And then was removal. It's a Boolean. True if the action about to happen is a removal of the DOM node. So yeah, this is, again, like, it kind of smells like the this API needs to be cleaned up. Like, that leaks a lot of information about the internals. Law of Demeter, gang. Law of Demeter. Wait, that was before DOM change, right? Yeah, okay. So that one's done. After DOM change. So sometimes VS Code is very helpful, and sometimes it's super not. After DOM change. All right. Like, so fired after the change the DOM node of the widget. Fired after, so this is after, and then it's the same thing. The DOM element that was acted upon, the DOM element that the widget was inserted before, the action that happened was removal of the DOM node. Okay, so done. Making forward progress, gang. Next one. This one's called On Widget Reset. And so we'll add another one of these. On Widget Reset. And what are the arguments? Just a node and a container. Fired after a reset to the default placement moves widget's node to a different location. Okay. Node to a different location. The DOM element. See, I'm saying element. It's true, they are elements. They will always be elements. Nodes are a superset. Every element is a node. The DOM node. Just being consistent. Okay. So a node is the widget's node. The DOM node for the widget that was moved, and then a container, the area, the actual container. What is the, I think, yeah, it's the actual container element. Yeah. A container, the actual DOM container for the widget after, oh. After the reset, and then not this. Get rid of that. Okay. We're still, I think we're gonna get through all these. We'll probably be done these in the next 5 minutes, and then we can move on to some more interesting things. On widget undo. On undo move. That's a node and a container again. Fired after undoing it. Okay. Node is the widget's node. A container is the area it was moved into. So it's the same. After the move. After the undo. Undo move. Okay. On area reset. That takes the area, which I think is a string. and container. Area is the area that was reset, the DOM node that was reset. The DOM node for the area that was reset. This is fired for each DOM node. For each DOM node across all windows. So area reset should be the a string, right? Yeah, it'll be the string ID. The ID for the area that was reset. Okay. A big stretch. How many left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 more. Let's see if we can get those done in the next, in the next 8 minutes. So let's punch it up a bit. On widget created. On widget created. I'm gonna put that up here actually because keep them all kind of grouped. On widget created. Wait, no, I just corrected the wrong one. It's this one. On widget created. I think I've confused myself. Yeah, widget created. Fired when a widget with ID widget has been created before was added any placements. Okay. On widget created. Fired with ID has been created before it's added to any placements already done. Nodes have been constructed. So a widget ID. ID of the widget that was created. On widget after creation. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to add these to the bottom, and then I'll reorganize this afterwards because I'm really worried about like confusing myself. Widget after creation. And that takes a widget in an area. I think we've got one like that, like this. Okay. Fire which is going to place down there. Okay. Fired after a widget with ID, a widget ID has been created and has been added to either its default area or the area in which it was placed previously. If the widget has no default area and or it has never been placed anywhere, a area may be null. Only fired for API-based widgets. String or null. The ID of the widget that was just created. The ID of the area that the widget was placed in, or null if it is current now in the customization palette. It is now in the customization palette. On widget destroyed. Okay. Destroyed. Destroyed. And that takes just the widget ID. So that's similar to this one. Okay. Widgets are destroyed. Hard when a widget is destroyed. The ID of the widget that was destroyed. Makes sense. Okay, how many left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep going. On widget. Instance removed. And that takes a widget ID and a document. I guess it's kind of like this. When a window is unloaded and a widget's instance is destroyed because of this. Okay. So that, sorry, that takes a document. So that's a the document that the widget belonged to that was just destroyed. That was just unloaded. Instance removed. The widget that was just removed. Okay. On widget drag. On widget drag. That takes a widget in an area again. Fired both when and after customer widget would drive to an area. Okay, nice. The ID of the widget that is being dragged. String or undefined. After the measurements have been done, the node has been moved. Or undefined after the measurements have been done and the node has been moved back to its regular area. The area. Or undefined after the measurements have been done and the node has been moved back to its regular area. Let's look at that on widget drag. Does anything call on widget drag? I don't know if anything calls on widget drag. On widget drag. There we go. Customize mode does. Okay, so yeah, undefined. Oh, these are very similar. On widget drag. This is an implementation of the callback. Okay. On customize start. Fired when opening customize mode in a window. start. When opening customize mode in a window. This is a window element. The window in which customize mode was opened. Okay. And then similarly customize end. And fired when opening is maybe entering, was entered. When exiting, customize, was exited. Customize, start, end. Here we go. How many left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just 6 left, gang. 6 left. Making good progress on widget overflow. Widget overflow takes a node and a container. Like this one. Fired when the DOM we display in the overflow panel. Okay. Fired when a widget's DOM node is overflowing its container, a toolbar. Overflowing it's just a toolbar because that's the only way we can overflow right now. We displayed in an overflow panel because we can have multiple overflow panels. Okay, that one, named it right. And the node, the DOM node that overflowed, for the widget that overflowed. The widget overflow. The target, notify listeners, the target. What is the target? A reference to the part of the toolbar that accepts customizable UI widgets. Right, the thing that we overflowed from. Okay. The DOM container for the widget the DOM container for the widget that just overflowed. For the widget, the DOM container that the widget just overflowed out of. Okay. On widget underflow. Underflow. Under. Fired when a widget stops over a widget that was overflowed underflows back into its original container. Overflowed out of its container, underflows back. Toolbar container. The DOM node that was overflowing, that had overflowed out. DOM container that the widget is moving back to is underflowing back into. Okay. Okay. Next up, on window opened. That takes a window. I think we've got like one of those, like this. On window opened. Window opened. Fired when the window has managed once all the prerequisite setup has been done. The window that open. Okay. Oh, window closed. All right. On area node registered. Okay. Area node registered. And it just takes an area and a container. I think we've got something like that. Area and a container. Fired after an area node is first built when it is registered. This is often when the window has opened, but in the case of add-ons, could fire when the node has just been registered with customizable UI after an add-on update or disable enable sequence. Okay. The ID for the area that was... Oh, I'm getting a tea delivery. Wonderful. Thank you very much. The ID for the area that was just registered. And what's the other one on area node? Container. And the customization target. Okay. The DOM node for the customizable area. Craig's typing. Let's see what Craig's typing. Okay, last one, unregistered. What kind of teas? Oh, I love this question. What kind of teas do you drink / like? Fantastic question. Let's take a pause here on our last one. I'm gonna take a sip of tea and I'm gonna tell you. So I'm a simple man. I enjoy like black teas in Canada. I don't know where you are, Craig. I don't know where everyone who's watching this, I don't know where you are. In Canada, there are two, what I would consider like the Coca-Cola and Pepsi of tea brands in Canada. The Coca-Cola one, at least in my books, would be called Tetley tea, and the Pepsi is like Red Rose, which is interesting because I think Red Rose is actually Canadian. Anyways, the default flavors for those teas, like if you just get like a bag of Tetley and you put it in your tea kettle or teapot or whatnot and you have it steep, the default flavor is something called Orange Pico. Orange Pico is from Tetley, Canada, and it's not actually like, it looks kind of orange, like it's given this vibe of being like an orange tea, but like maybe you could argue, but I'm gonna hold my tea up to the camera here. I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty brown. Maybe it's because we steep it for a really long time. If you put it in like a really white shallow cup, maybe it's orange, but it's a standard black tea. It's not like fruity, like it doesn't have like notes of orange or anything. Like I don't taste orange when I drink it. Oh, You're over in Ottawa? Okay, so you know what's up. You know about Tetley. You know about Red Rose and Orange Pico. So basically, if you go to any like Tim Hortons and you ask for tea, you're getting Orange Pico. I find that when I travel though, outside of Canada, Orange Pico is very unusual. If you go to like the United States and you get some black tea, or if you go over maybe to the UK or something, or Europe, English breakfast seems to be more common, and Earl Grey, and I'm not really a fan of either of those. So actually what we do when we travel is we bring our own tea bags. We bring our own tea bags. We have separate containers for the caffeinated ones and the decaffeinated ones. And yeah, we bring our own tea because we've been burned too many times being overseas and being like, I'd like a cup of tea. And then we find out that all they have is like English breakfast or Earl Grey or chamomile, which is my least favorite. I do not like chamomile tea. Yeah, I know Jean-Luc Picard likes Earl Grey. Not a fan. I also don't really like teas that smell like they don't taste. Hang on, let me reconstruct that sentence. There are teas. So in Canada, there was this big chain called David's Tea. I don't know if it's still around. Yeah, it's still around. And it was like a big deal. Like there were David's Teas opening up all over the place. I think that bubble is kind of popped. But they had a lot of really delicious smelling teas, but when you taste it, it tasted like hot water. It tasted like tea. And I don't like that. I don't like if there's too much of a contrast between what I'm smelling and what I'm tasting. Like they'd have teas that smelled like an apple pie or a chocolate souffle or chocolate sundae or something. And I'd be like, oh, it smells incredible. And then I'd drink it and it would taste like hot water. And I'd be like, I don't like that experience. What I like about Orange Pico is you smell it, and it smells exactly like it tastes, which is just kind of dark and bitter. That's my rant on teas. Thank you for watching my rant on teas. Okay, so let's finish this last one. Unregistered. Fired when an area node is explicitly unregistered by an API caller or by a window closing. The reason parameter indicates which of these is the case. So area container, so there's a reason, and I presume that's going to be a string or something. Reason area registered. Reason area. Reason window closed. That's probably, yeah, it's these two reasons. Okay. So param string a reason, one of either customizable UI reason window closed or customizable UI.reason area unregistered. Is there a way of saying that this is like basically an enum? JS doc enum type enum try state values. This is probably fine for now. Okay, so we can get rid of this, and now we can clean this up a little bit. Add a listener object that will be fired for various events regarding customization, regarding window area widget, window area and widget lifetimes. Lifetimes actions, as well as customization. Various customizations. Well, customization actions. Customization events. the listener object to add. Not all event handlers need to be defined. Here, this seems important. Just got a message. Gregory Papas writes, do you know why customizable UI uses its own event system rather than being an event target, like backup service? I think it's because this is before event target existed as a thing that you could subclass. If we go back far enough, I think it was Firefox 29. So if we go back to ESR 17, was there something called event target? Like extends? I don't think you could extend event target. We had the web IDL, but I don't think you could extend it. Like we didn't have classes. You could, like, JavaScript didn't have extends as a thing. You could do like prototype-ish inheritance, but like we take a lot for granted that we can do now. Like we can just like extend an event target and get all this stuff for free. Yeah, it was a different time. So we had to like invent a lot of our own stuff here. Okay, so that's done. There we go. Oh, that's just repetition. Okay, next up, remove a listener. So it's the same thing as this, param, the listener object to remove. Listener that was previously added with add listener. Okay, register a customizable area. Here we go. String name. The name of the area to register can only contain alphanumeric characters, dashes, and underscores. Props. So props is going to be an object, and it takes these. So this is actually interesting. I've seen this form done before. We're going to do it like this. A object props, the properties of the area to register. And then we can go param object, or not necessarily an object, the type. So string aprops.type, the type of area. Being registered, either customizable UI.type toolbar default or customizable UI.type panel. So it's defaulting to customizable UI.type toolbar. Is that true? Register area. Properties. If props has no type, then we set it to type toolbar. Interesting. Wait, props has set, it's a map? Properties. Props. A properties for like key. Oh, so this is interesting. We like convert this object into a map. Why? No idea. Maps were new and cool, and everyone was very excited about them. Okay, so it defaults to UI type toolbar. That's fine. Param, this next one. For a menu panel or overflow panel, the anchoring node for the panel. Okay, so this is an element, and I think this can be also undefined. anchor. A props.anchor. For menu panel, or flowable toolbar area, the anchoring node for the panel. Okay, overflowable. That's a Boolean. I also think it's probably not. Here, let's open up customizable UI over here. Register area. Let's go to the definition of register area. Immutable properties is overflowable. If it has it, it just needs to be present. It doesn't need to be a Boolean. It just needs to be present, it looks like. Is that true? Register area. Properties. If it's one of the immutable ones, so you can't overwrite it. Okay. So really it just needs to, yeah. Well, we're gonna say it's a Boolean, but it doesn't need to be included. Overflowable. Set to true if your toolbar is overflowable. This requires an anchor and has an effect. Only has an effect for toolbars. Param. So this is an array of widget IDs making up the default contents of the area. So that's a string array. A props.default placements. An array of widget IDs make up the default contents of an area. And I'm pretty sure, like, is default placements something that you must supply? No, it can be not included. Default collapsed, internal only. Oh boy, that's a good sign. That's what you want when you expose this sort of thing. Boolean. Default collapsed. Applies if the type is type toolbar. Customizable UI.type toolbar specifies if the toolbar is collapsed by default. Defaults to true. Specify null. Oh, geez. Null to ensure that the rest reset / in default area don't care about toolbars collapse to don't care about toolbar. Set in default area don't care about toolbars collapse state. All right. Cool. Done. Now what do you complain about here? Expected param to be names to be a name. Properties got a name props default collapsed. Oh, right. A props. There you go. Better. Got a name. A props. Oh, right. A properties. Okay. Clean that up. Next. This one is valid, but doesn't really say anything. It doesn't have parameters set. But I'm not going to try and like update the documentation just yet. I'm just going to try and make it so that this is valid JS doc. Jack IO, or maybe it's Jack Lowe, writes, "Hello. Do you know why GeForce Now is not supported by Firefox? Are there technical limitations, or it's just NVIDIA being NVIDIA? What the heck is GeForce Now? The next generation in cloud gaming transforms your laptop into a powerful gaming rig. It's a subscription service. Unveil GeForce Now clients for Windows and Mac. It's available on Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, Shield TV, Chromebook, Tizen, and WebOS devices. So is it like... Oh, and Smurfy rolls in with a bug. Play GeForce Now, Firefox, Epiphany are unsupported browsers. This is from 4 months ago. Jeff says, I reached out to NVIDIA about this in 2022. They don't know of any technical reasons for not supporting Firefox, but we're currently only supporting Chromium. Now that they support Safari, it might be worth reaching out again. So, they just seem like they are not paying attention. So, maybe make some noise. Make some noise. There's a webcompat issue here as well. I'm not able to reproduce the issue. Just thought I'd mention the issue is reproducible on GNOME Web. Moved to Bugzilla on May 25th. Okay. And then mentioned here, this is a known issue, closed. So really, it's this bug. And, you know, it's just a matter of making noise so that NVIDIA's like, they don't know of any technical reasons for not supporting Firefox. They're just not doing it. Make some noise. Okay. Register panel node. This is just like the panel contents DOM node being registered. Element node, the panel contents DOM node being registered, and then string area. The ID of the area for which to register this node, right? Register panel node. Yeah. It's a string. Okay. Fixed. Unregister. The inverse of register area. String. It's really the ID, but the name of the area to unregister. So I guess I should... The name of the area. It's register area. The name of the area to register. Okay. We call them names, I guess. The name of the area to unregister. A, destroy placements. Whether to destroy the placements information. That's got to be a Boolean. True. True if the placements information for the area should be destroyed too. to not destroying replacement's information. Okay. Making good progress. Hey, let's take a quick pause here. Let's see how many violations we have. We had 176 problems. Let's see how many we've got now. 161. Doesn't feel like a huge leap, but that first one took a long time. It took like a half hour. I think these other ones have been going much more quickly, and so we'll probably get that down. I'm guessing if I do this next episode as well, which I plan to, I think we'll probably have this done next episode. But before we end, I wanted to jump over here. Oh, you know what? The build's not done, so I can't jump over here. So let's keep going. I was gonna like do a thing on my Windows machine, but the build's still going. I didn't expect that. Okay, the next one is add widget to area. Add a widget to an area. So the ID of the widget to add to the area. Here we're using the ID of the area, string, the name of the area. The name of the area to add the widget to, and then the position at which to add the widget. If you do not pass a position, the widget will be added to the end of the area. Okay. The ID of the widget to remove. Remove from its area. Move a widget within an area. The ID of the widget to move. And then the position is a number. The position to move the widget to. Negative values or values greater than the number of widgets will be interpreted to mean moving the widget respectively the first or last position. That's sensible. Widget. The idea of the widget that was just created. Ensure widget placed in window. The widget that was just created. It's a DOM window. The window in which you want to ensure it was added. Why is this API per window, you wonder? Here. Because if you need this, presumably you yourself need to create the widget and all windows need to loop through them anyway. All right. This is another bit of a smell here that we're doing that. Force dirty. That sounds like a Boolean. Force customizable UI flush to the prefs file when all batch updates have finished. Defaults false. And batch update. Yeah. Create a widget. Oh boy. So this is also going to be one of those big ones. Let's save that for the end. Woo! Let's save that. Let's just go through a few more of these. The ID of the widget to destroy. Destroy. Oh man. Get widget. And then these are the things that you get back. Get unused widgets. The palette in which customizable UI should look. For widgets could be available in some windows but not others, and likewise API provided widgets might not exist in a private window because it's shown private browsing property. DOM element. palette element, and by extension the window in which customizable UI should look. Because of course Zool provided widgets could be available in some windows but not others, and likewise API provided widgets might not exist. Oh yeah, that is the thing. Zool provided widgets. There was no way of guaranteeing that they'd exist in every window back in the day. Oh, that was such a pain. Return an array of widget wrappers. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to do that one later. Okay, the get widget IDs in area. That sounds easy. String the name of the area whose placements you want to obtain. Return string array. An array containing the widget IDs that are in the area. Maybe all the NBs can be replaced with like note. What does that look like in practice? Note. Yeah. I'll throw. There was another NB above. Right here. Invalid JS no tag. There's no such thing as a note. JS doc note. Huh. Huh. Never mind. Revert. 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 What's this complaining about? Expected one line after description. It's complaining that replace with returns. Okay. And it's 2:29. Gang, I think I'm gonna stop it there. How many problems do we have left? 161? Well, let's see. Probably we're like at 150, 149. We made a big leap there. So I figure we can probably get that down to 0 pretty quickly. I am going to create a new branch, customizable UI documentation, and I'm going to create a couple of commits here. First of all, I'm going to create a commit for this change. Git add. I'm going to say, what is it? What was the bug? Bug such and such update JS doc support documentation to mention ESLint RC rollouts.js. And that's going to be standard 8, and I'll probably want to review that. And then git status, git add.eslint rollout, RC rollouts, bug such and such, enable valid JS doc rule. Is that what the rule is called? Valid JS doc ESLint rule for browser components customizable UI. And then or components, customizable UI, bug, such and such, make customizable UI.sys.mgs pass the valid JS doc ESLint rule. Maybe I'll have Sam review that one. We'll stop there. But I'm gonna post these as a whip patch. Moz fab submit work in progress. Oh, it doesn't know what my upstream is. I've had this problem before. I'm gonna have to supply my upstream and say it's bookmark central, yo. Found multiple upstreams. Come on. All right. Well, I'm going to stop it there. Hey, thanks everybody for watching episode 377 of The Joy of Coding. I know that there wasn't a lot of like deep dive, and sometimes this is software development. Is you end up it's a little bit of grunt work, and it's going to pay off. Like decent documentation pays off in the long run, especially even if it's just a project that you work on yourself, you will thank yourself if you have decent documentation. Your future self will thank you to have taken the time to write stuff down and to have your thoughts clear and to actually put in the effort to make it to have something readable and understandable that you don't have to start digging through the code to sort of figure out what's happening. You will save yourself time in the long run. And if you were working on a team, it's the impacts can be huge just to get people onboarded and up to speed on some piece of code. So I highly recommend it. And this is part of the game. This is part of software development is documentation. And that's not always the funnest thing to watch, but it's important. I mean, the good news is we didn't really have to write a whole lot of new documentation. It's more like reformatting documentation. And unfortunately, we were so inconsistent in it that I don't think it would have taken too long and would have been too niche to write a tool to automate this. That could have been neat, but it probably would have resulted in more problems than actual good documentation. Anyways, we're getting there, gang, and we'll see how far we get next week. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have yourselves a great week. If you enjoyed this episode, didn't enjoy this episode, maybe you have questions that you want to ask me, maybe you want to ask about Firefox or the Codebase or JSDoc or customizable UI or Mozilla or whatever you want to ask. Open source, working in open source, working as a software developer. Feel free. You can ask me questions. There's a forum here. I'll put the link in the chat here. Forum to rate this episode, and if you follow through that forum at the very end there's a section if you want to ask me a question, and if I have the answers, because I don't always have the answers, but if I have the answers, I'll try and answer them on the stream. All right, well, we're calling it there. Thanks again for watching. Have yourselves a great week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.